All right. I am here with Kimberly Kelly, real estate agent. Also, my aunt. Thank you for having to sit down with me. It's super important to me on my birthday.
You're very welcome. Happy
So I
birthday,
appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Keithus.
Appreciate it. I'm gonna ask a few questions.
Okay.
Please feel free to answer. There's no wrong answer, and elaborate as much as you would like. So, if you don't mind starting off telling everybody about your childhood and how you grew up, where you grew up, and how that's affected kind of what you do today.
Okay. I am Kimberly Kelly. I grew up in Inglewood, California, born and raised, really born and raised, born at Centinela Hospital, raised in Inglewood. Graduated from Morningside High School. Well, elementary, junior high, went to a private school, Inglewood Christian School. Shout out to all my ICS folks. Um, went graduated from Morningside High School, go Monarchs. And then I went to college at UC Riverside, graduated in 2005 with a degree in sociology. Um, as a teenager, I wanted to be a high school counselor because I felt like I didn't have a really good counselor. So I wanted to counsel kids and counsel students. But I ended up taking a different path once I graduated. I worked at an elementary school for a couple years as a counselor's aide, dealing with high risk students, students who had been through the foster system, things like that. I felt it was important to me because, I knew people who had gone through the foster system and some of the challenges that they faced. Um, and so I wanted to help. So I did that for a couple years. And then at 26, ended up moving to Dallas, Texas. Um, to try and figure it out. So, I mean, when I was young, I didn't really have a direct, like, people, when they're young, they're like, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be this. I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I was always thinking about different avenues I could take, but just never really landed on what I really wanted to do. I'm the youngest of six siblings, and it's kind of hard to find your way when you're the youngest because everybody has a path that they want you to take. And so you're looking at, these older individuals, your siblings, and kind of what they're doing. And they're finding their niche and you're just trying to figure it out, all while everybody is telling you because you're the baby. They're trying to tell you, what you should do, what you need to do. So it was a challenge to find my own way, but I think I did once I, you know, got up the courage to move to Dallas, Texas by myself at 26. And I've been there ever since.
I'm not gonna say nothing about the monarch thing because I went to Inglewood, so I'm just gonna let that slide because we family. Next question. In today's climate, the real estate market in,
Mhm.
in general, especially in Los Angeles, and then you said you moved to Texas. What would you say would be the most challenging part of a person trying to achieve home ownership? And if you can refer to Los Angeles and Texas in
Mhm.
general, but especially people in Los Angeles and Texas, what would you say is the most challenging part of achieving that?
I mean, Los Angeles is tough because it's so expensive. You almost have to move out of the LA Metroplex to get a house for a decent price, and even still, it's expensive. For first time buyers, they do have first time buyer programs. Um, where you only have to put 3.5% down as a down payment. But when you couple that with the closing cost of closing on a house that's $600,000, you almost price, first time young buyers out of the market because it's so expensive. In Texas, it's a little bit easier because you have houses that are more reasonably priced and they're, in decent neighborhoods. Whereas a first time buyer, a couple, young couple just starting out, or an individual, out of college with your first, full time job, or even out of high school with a full time job, it's more feasible in Texas, especially, probably in the Dallas area, more so than Austin, because Austin's getting to be really pricey. But Dallas, Fort Worth area is a little bit easier because the prices are more reasonable for if you're just starting off in real estate. Um, you know, there's a lot of money to be saved up. Different banks have different programs. But, like I said, Los Angeles is a really tough market unless you're really in that higher income bracket because it's so expensive. And even, yeah, I mean, probably, I mean, everywhere in California, I feel like Northern and Southern California, it's just really expensive. I hate to sound like a bearer of bad news, but it's almost, I don't want to say impossible because nothing's impossible, but it's really tough in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people are moving out, and even in Arizona,
Hmm.
starting to get pricey because it's next
Hmm.
door. So yeah, and I'm hearing as back and forth to Texas that that's starting to go up because people are transporting out there. So
And it is, it's the prices aren't what they were, 3 years ago. When COVID started, I think people thought that the market was going to plummet, but it actually boomed in Texas. Prices like shot up, and part of that was because of supply and demand. Because construction stopped for a bit, there wasn't enough supply for the demand of people moving to Texas from New York or from Los Angeles or Chicago, where they sold a house there in those areas and were able to pay cash, or they were able to pay over the asking price. So it really shot prices up. However, with the economy changing and shifting now, the direction is going in, you're going to find that prices are dropping back down. They won't go back to where they were maybe 4 years ago, but they're going to become more aligned to where they should be, and not 30, 40, 50,000 over, you know, what they were 3 years ago. I've seen prices drop 30, 40, $50,000 in some areas just because they were just astronomically overpriced. And they're still overpriced even with the price drop, but still reasonable for a first time buyer.
it's like gas prices, right? They ain't gonna go
Exactly.
all the way back down, but
Right. But they'll get back to a more stable place to where they're not just, you know, out of this world prices for
right.
Texas. Yeah.
Question I like to ask people that's Los Angeles natives
Hmm.
specifically
Yeah.
because it's a special place.
Yeah,
It's the most beautiful place and also one of the most dangerous places
it is.
in America.
It is.
Can you talk to me about what do you think some of the challenges of growing up in LA
Um,
are?
some of the challenges of growing up in LA, it's such an expensive place. So unless you have money, you kind of grow up in rougher neighborhoods. I mean, we grew up in Inglewood, California, across the street from what they call the Bottoms. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but it's where what was that movie? Boys in the Hood. They filmed part of that movie in that area, but the gang violence was a thing. I mean, I had friends that I went to high school with that were killed. We were teenagers, so dealing with those types of things that other people in different areas of the United States don't have to deal with. That's a challenge because you don't want to get sucked into it. For girls, it's a little bit easier. Um, but for boys, it's really, for men, it's really tough. And even for girls, it's really tough because the guys that you date tend to be some kind of way affiliated or maybe affiliated. And, it just gets sticky living in LA. And it's just a fast moving place. It's really fast. You see a lot really early. You things move quick here, whereas in the South, especially, it's a little bit slower, a little more family oriented. Um, it's just different challenges. Growing up, my dad was on drugs, and I think a lot of people had, especially in my age group, 80s babies, we had somebody in the family who was addicted to, you know, um, drugs at the time. So it was a challenge because he wasn't in the household, for the majority of my life. So you didn't have that kind of safety net to watch over you and make sure the bad boy stayed away and kind of keep you on a good path. So it's definitely challenging raising kids in Los Angeles, because it's a whole different vibe. You can be on one street and cross over into a completely different gang neighborhood in a matter of minutes. And so if you're not from here and you're visiting here, it's different. You really got to be well versed in the different areas in Los Angeles to really make it.
And I've asked this question a couple times, and this is the first time I've been able to ask a woman this question about her experience in Los Angeles. So I'm glad that you brought the differences. But for most men, it typically is the gang violence
Hmm.
that they are afraid of in LA. What is it for? Would you say a woman like yourself? What was it? I guess I don't say that you feared the most, but that posed majority of the issue.
Hmm.
Is it still gang violence, or was it something else?
I think it was a combination. Yeah, gang violence is one because you grow up in the neighborhood. From elementary, you're with kind of the same students from elementary to middle school to high school, and so people go down different paths. You want to still remain friends with your friends from elementary, but they've gone down a gang path. The boy you like that you went to elementary, junior high school with, once he got to high school, he went down a different path, but you still want to be with him. So it's you kind of get sucked into it as well. And so we've seen it happen where females get caught up with gang members, and then they get caught up in something that they shouldn't be caught up in. So I think the challenges are similar, but it's a little bit different for women. But I think the gang thing is really a challenge.
What do you think Los Angeles has given you as far as advantage, because it is such a fast-paced place and you do have to navigate so diligently?
Hmm.
What advantages do you feel like it is giving you?
Great question. When I moved to Texas at 26, there was a lot of things that they hadn't done yet that had already been done in LA. The drive was different because LA did move so fast. I started working at 16, trying to make money and things like that. And you've seen so many different things, you've witnessed some different things, and so when you move to Texas, you have a different kind of hustle to it. You move a little quicker. Um, and there's definitely some advantages because you've seen some things um, that you may not have seen in the South.
Don't worry about him just changing the camera battery. So, and I feel like it definitely gives. For me, I feel like it's giving me an advantage because I'm able to move a little faster than I feel like the rest of the world, and give me a different kind of hustle
Hmm.
because you have to navigate so through so many people.
Hmm.
Um, so moving along to the next question, as a professional, you not only do you work in real estate, but you also are HR professional.
I am.
So you're dealing with people on
Yeah.
a consistent basis and their issues.
Every day.
From your experience, what do you feel like people are dealing with the most in today's society?
I think right now after COVID, it's mental health. I work in human resources. I work in employee and labor relations, and so we deal a lot with we do the disciplinary stuff, so and the grievances and things like that, and deal with complaints, from employees within the organization. And so I think, and we work closely with our benefits department, and we've experienced a lot of employees, having breakdowns, outbursts, negative outbursts, things like that, and they're almost kind of losing it. COVID having people locked up like that, and not able to see family, and people who weren't from Texas, not being able to travel out of state to go see family. I think um, it really did something to people's psyche. Even if you were from Texas, just not having that daily interaction with people. Um, we found ourselves, when you went out to the grocery store, you were like waving to everybody that you can see, and everybody was really nice because there had been no, interaction with people on a daily basis like we were used to. And so that's kind of what, and when I talk to different people in different organizations in HR, it's the same thing. Everybody's kind of dealing with the same issues as far as mental health, and people just not being mentally well. Um, People who suffer. We were lucky in my organization. We were able to continue paying everyone. Even, when they weren't able to do their full-time job, we had operations staff who, because our different buildings were closed, they weren't able to do actual, they didn't have work to do, but we still paid them, which is what I think helped a lot of them. But if they had spouses or things like that whose organizations weren't able to pay them and they got laid off or weren't getting paid. Like it was a real strain on people. Most people in the United States live paycheck to paycheck, and so when you don't have those funds coming in, and you're counting on that every month. Um, it could be a big burden and cause a lot of stress and anxiety for people. So people coming out of that hole after COVID, I think, affected a lot of people's psyche, and people still are dealing with things. People lost family members, people died, and not being able to see people in the hospital or have a proper burial or funeral. It was hard for people.
Who would you say has had the most, let me rephrase this. Who's the biggest inspiration to you in your life?
His inspiration. Okay, I have two.
Yeah,
Probably have two people.
let's get to.
So my mommy, of course, she was a single mom, and a lot of people tell me I'm a lot like her, but she was so strong. So I don't even know how she did it sometimes, but she just raised us to be just good individuals. Um, Me and my sister, who I'm really close to, she's my other inspiration, my big sister, Angie, and just growing up under her, she always protected me, took care of me. She fussed at me when I needed, somebody to fuss at me. She was probably the reason I went to college because I saw her do it, and so when I saw her do things, I would want to do it too. And they were good things. Going to college, making good grades, you know, those types of things. So I always looked up to her. She's always been like a strong, she's very outspoken, which I admire about her because I'm not really that outspoken. I'm more of an introvert. She's probably more of the extrovert. Um, and so she's very outspoken. She speaks her mind, which is something I really admire about her. And then, like I said, my mom, she just, I don't, like I said, I don't know how she did it, but she did it, and she raised, four great kids.
In the past year,
Mhm,
what would you say, just this year, just this past year,
mhm.
what would you say has been your personal greatest challenge?
My personal greatest challenge. I think this year I tried to chart a different path. Because I'm an introvert, it was always hard for me to go out and network and those types of things. So I think business wise, I've changed. I've grown a lot. It's been challenging. Um, I moved into a new role at my full time job, so I'm directing a team of people and, being the leader on the team, which is, not something I was kind of put into the role, really. Um, and so it's just been a challenge, but it's been a fun challenge because it's forced me to push myself to think differently. It actually brought out my leadership skills that I didn't even know I had. So, like I said, it's been challenging. It's been fun. It's been hard. Um, I've had bumps in the road, but it's professionally, I've had a challenging year, but it's been a good challenge for me.
Now, I mean, like, what is like what's the challenge has been meeting people or
It's just putting yourself out there and being
mm,
confident in yourself to put yourself out there. Um, Also, like I said, being a leader in like leading an entire department. I have a team of it's 11 of us. I have a team of 11 that I lead that are dependent on me. So that's a challenge when you have people depending on you to make the right decisions and things like that. In real estate, when I have clients depending on me to make sure I get them the best deal, or depending on me and looking up to me for information, as they go through their process of purchasing a home. I've never wanted that type of responsibility. I've always shied away from it. So now being like thrust into the forefront, and that's been a challenge for me because, like I said, I'm normally the introvert and kind of stay to the background, but now I'm like all the way in the forefront. So that's a challenge for
yeah, I
me.
can imagine. So if it's something that you could tell yourself a year ago, if you were to meet yourself, right, your past self from a year ago,
Mhm.
what would you tell your year ago self?
Um, be confident in what you know. You're there for a reason. You're in the room for a reason. So if you're in the room, it's because you're supposed to be there. So, speak up and say what's on your mind, in a professional way, but make your presence felt, make yourself known. Don't just be there just to, take up space. Um, Let people, feel your presence there.
And then I like to end with this kind of question, and I kind of share with you earlier what it was going to be. But if this was your last day, because everybody is going to have one.
I forgot about this
Yeah,
question.
yeah. Everybody's going to have a last day, and I like to get this question out now. Why
Mhm.
it's hopefully it's not, but
Right.
if it was, most people don't get the opportunity to say what they
Sure.
wanted to say. So I want to provide the opportunity now.
Mhm.
If today was your last day, what would you tell your family, friends, and loved ones? And let's start with your immediate family, meaning
Mhm.
parents,
Mhm.
mother, sisters, and brothers.
Mhm. I tell my mom I love her to death. She has been like a rock to me, and even as I've gotten older, our relationship has grown. We've gotten so much closer. She's told me stories about, just things that have happened to her in the past that she probably, I don't even know how we had these conversations, but just that I love her. I admire her strength. I admire her fight, and I love her to death. She has been I always tell people like my mom is the only person that really understands me. So I appreciate her so much. To my big brother, Lenny, uh I have looked up to him forever. Like Lenny was the person everybody wanted to be like. Lenny was the first person that, bought real estate that I knew of personally, and he always encouraged us. I would always tell him, I want to be like you when I get older. And he always tell us, no, you're going to be better than me. So I appreciate him for always being there. Oh my God, why am I getting emotional? I appreciate him for always being there and always just encouraging. And I love him to death too. Let's see. To my other big brother, Big Kevin, he has always been just a listening ear. He's not judgmental. I can tell him everything, and he, give me the best advice, whether I like it or not. So I would tell him I love him. I appreciate him. I appreciate him for who he is. Um, and thank you for always giving me good advice, even when I didn't want to hear it, even when it was, not in my favor. I appreciate his honesty. My big sister Angie, that's my ace. We're a year and a half apart, and we have been together since birth. Shout out to Keith and Kevin since birth. We've been together since birth, and she has always um she's always like been my protector. Of course I have my older big brothers, but they're like 15 years older than me. But we've been through so much together, and she's always just like, protected me like her little sister, and I love her for that. I love her outspokenness. I love her drive. She has inspired me so much. So I appreciate her. Um, to little Keith and Kevin, you guys are like little brothers to us. Even we used to put y'all in the corner, it was all out of love. But I love you guys to death. I love you guys for what you have become. It's been such an inspiration, and I'm so proud as I watch you all grow up and become young men. And you guys are doing great things. So keep pushing. I know you're going to be successful in everything you guys do. So, Auntie Kim loves you. And Elijah and Caleb. Those are my sister's first two kids, and those, I love my older nephews, Keith and Kevin, but I've been with them because me and my sister were so close. I was, basically almost in the delivery room with her, and you know, her and I hung out while she was pregnant, and so those are like my kids. So I love them. You all are going to be great. Caleb, I know you can be whatever you want. You're smart, and keep pushing. Elijah, that's my crunch munch. He was like my child, my first child, because he was always with me. And you have impressed me so much with your your strength, your ability to be who you are, and unapologetically. So keep being you. I know you're going to do great things, my future architect. Um, your name is going to be on the wall on a building somewhere. So keep pushing forward. And I love you. And to Reagan and Riley, the twins, I love you all. And you know, I don't even know what you all are going to become. You guys have so much personality. You guys can be anything you want to be. I can see you two in the movie somewhere because you guys just have so much personality. So keep being you, your individual yous, because even though you're twins, you are different. And I want you guys to be okay with that, but always stay together. And shout out to Auntie Sandra. Sandra has been like a big sister to me. Uh, she's what can I say about Sandra? She never left us out of anything, like traveling to Mississippi with her, crying on her shoulder about different boyfriends. She's just always been like a big sister. I just love her to death. I couldn't imagine not having her in my life, even to this day. Like there's been times I've called her and she's always there. So that's all. Thank you guys.
Oh man, that's why that was beautiful, by the way. And
Oh my
yeah,
God, that was hard to get
yeah,
through.
right. Well, you got through it, man. You got through it. It was beautiful, and I'm glad you was able to share that and have this moment. Last I will ask you is there any advice that you would like to give anyone out there that's trying to get into your profession or just advice in general in life? But I
Yeah,
like to try to tie it to
yeah,
what you do and who you are and what you know and you definitely know the game of real estate. So is there any advice you would give a young real estate agent out there trying to get in the game?
yeah. Don't be afraid to work because it is work. I think people think you just get your license and you get 1,000,001 clients, but that's just not how it works. Especially to young people. Um, this culture and Instagram and social media has people thinking like that success comes easy and it doesn't. You got to really work for it, grind for it, study for it, know your craft, whatever it is you do, know your craft, know it well, study it, study those who've done it before you. And if you do study those who've done it before you, you'll see that they had to work sometimes years to get to the place where they are. Keith, you know this. I remember you started in the basement, and now look where you are. So, success does not come easy and you can't give up. And, just keep pushing forward, um, and, keep pushing forward. Yeah.
If they want to find you for somebody to buy a house, or they want
Hmm.
to hire you as a real estate agent, or just learn more about you,
Sure.
where could they find you or contact
Sure, they can reach out to me on IG. I'm at Kim K underscore T Made Realty. I'm on Facebook. You can follow me on Facebook. I am not on Twitter or any of those TikTok or none of that stuff, but Instagram is the best place to reach me. You can also look at the website Kimberly Kelly at kw.com. That is my real estate website. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
you? Again, I appreciate you so much, and
You're
thank you
so
for making this
welcome.
a
Love
special,
you.
special birthday. Love you too.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.